night of December 11, 1942, would forever change the Japanese perception of small American vessels. As the Japanese destroyer Teruzuki confidently navigated the dark waters of Guadalcanal, two small wooden boats emerged from the shadows like silent predators. Within minutes, one of the most feared vessels of the Imperial Japanese Navy was sinking, victim of a devastating surprise attack. These predators were the PT boats, known as patrol torpedo boats. But what made these small wooden vessels so lethal against the Japanese steel giants? The answer would reveal a shocking truth about how David can defeat Goliath at sea, completely transforming naval warfare in the Pacific and challenging all military conventions of the era. PT boats were born out of a desperate American need at the beginning of World War II. At just 78 feet in length and constructed primarily of plywood, these boats seemed like toys compared to the battleships and cruisers that dominated the oceans. Equipped with 4 Mark 8 torpedoes, 50 caliber machine guns, and a 20mm cannon, their modest appearance concealed surprising destructive potential. What truly set them apart was their impressive speed of 45 knots, allowing for lightning-fast attacks and retreats before the enemy could effectively react. But there was something deeper behind their seemingly simple design. These boats represented a revolutionary military philosophy that prioritized mobility and surprise over armor and raw firepower, a concept the Japanese fatally underestimated. During the Guadalcanal campaign, PT boats began to reveal their true destructive potential. Organized into motor torpedo boat squadrons, they operated primarily under cover of darkness, leveraging the night to silently approach large enemy ships. On the fateful night of December 11th to 12th, 1942, PT-37 and PT-40 were patrolling nearby waters when they detected the Teruzuki. The Japanese destroyer, then the flagship of Rear Admiral Reizo Tanaka, sailed confidently, unaware of the approaching danger. The PT boat commanders, taking advantage of complete surprise and protective darkness, positioned their vessels for a coordinated attack. What happened next would brutally demonstrate how small, well-coordinated units could inflict devastating damage on vastly superior forces. The attack was executed with surgical precision and perfect timing. The PT boats launched their Mark 8 torpedoes in coordinated sequence, creating an attack pattern that made evasion almost impossible for the target. The torpedoes struck the Teruzuki at vital points, causing explosions that echoed across the dark waters of Guadalcanal. But the true horror was just beginning. The depth charges stored aboard the Japanese destroyer detonated in a chain reaction, exponentially amplifying the initial damage. The ship that moments before had proudly sailed as a symbol of Japanese naval power was now doomed, slowly sinking into the icy waters of the Pacific. 3 hours later, the Teruzuki completely disappeared beneath the waves, taking with it not only precious lives, but also the Japanese illusion of naval invulnerability. This event would mark the beginning of a new era in naval warfare, where small predators could hunt and destroy much larger prey. The effectiveness of PT boats was not limited to sinking warships. They became experts at attacking vulnerable Japanese supply barges, known as the Tokyo Express, or Rat Run. These vessels transported vital supplies, ammunition, and reinforcements to isolated Japanese troops on various Pacific islands. PT boats systematically intercepted these supply lines, causing critical resource shortages for enemy forces. A veteran of PT-109, future President John F. Kennedy, would later describe the feeling of hunting these barges as chasing ghosts in the dark, knowing that every successful torpedo meant Japanese soldiers without food, without ammunition, without hope. This logistical war of attrition would prove to be as devastating as any conventional naval battle, demonstrating how disrupting supply lines could be more effective than direct confrontations. But PT boats faced significant challenges that constantly tested their effectiveness. Early in the war, the Mark 8 torpedoes used were notoriously unreliable, with failure rates reaching 50% on some missions. Wooden construction, while providing speed and lightness, made the boats extremely vulnerable to enemy attacks. A single artillery shell or heavy machine gun burst could cause catastrophic damage. Furthermore, there were tragic friendly fire incidents, such as the one on April 29, 1944, when PT-346 was attacked by Allied aircraft, resulting in 9 dead and 9 wounded. These challenges forced constant adaptations and improvements, transforming PT boats into increasingly lethal and reliable weapons throughout the conflict. The psychological transformation caused by PT boats in Japanese forces was perhaps even more significant than their tactical successes. Japanese naval commanders, accustomed to engaging large ships in conventional battles, found themselves completely unprepared to deal with these small nocturnal predators. Paranoia spread through Japanese ranks, with exaggerated reports of swarms of American torpedo boats attacking simultaneously from multiple directions. A captured Japanese officer described the feeling as being chased by ghosts that appear out of nowhere, attack like demons, and disappear before we can retaliate. This psychological warfare significantly undermined the morale of Japanese troops, who began to fear the dark waters as much as daytime air raids. PT boats had become not only physical weapons, but instruments of psychological terror. The operational versatility of PT boats surprised even their own creators. In addition to their primary torpedo attack roles, they quickly adapted to rescue, reconnaissance, and special operations support missions. During MacArthur's evacuation from the Philippines, PT boats provided safe transport through Japanese-controlled waters. They rescued downed pilots in enemy territory, transported intelligence agents on secret missions, and provided close fire support for amphibious landings. This operational flexibility demonstrated how small, agile vessels could fill gaps that larger ships could not. A squadron commander observed that PT boats were like floating Swiss Army knives, always finding new ways to cause trouble for the enemy. This adaptability would become a defining characteristic of modern naval warfare. The strategic impact of PT boats transcended their individual victories, fundamentally influencing American naval doctrine. They proved that in modern warfare, speed, stealth, and flexibility could be more valuable than armor and raw firepower. This revolutionary lesson influenced the development of fast attack craft that are still used by navies around the world today. The tactical concepts developed by PT boats, including coordinated night attacks, naval guerrilla warfare, and disruption of supply lines, became fundamental elements of modern military strategy. Generals and admirals began to recognize that small, well-trained and equipped units could inflict disproportionate damage on much larger forces, a principle that would extend far beyond naval warfare. The climax of PT boat effectiveness came during the final operations in the Pacific, when they demonstrated their ability to operate in perfect coordination with other naval and air forces. In a series of coordinated night attacks, PT boat squadrons worked in conjunction with submarines and aircraft to create a lethal interdiction network that virtually paralyzed Japanese naval movement in certain areas. The transformation was complete. What began as experimental small wooden boats had evolved into essential components of an integrated and devastatingly effective war machine. The Japanese, who initially scorned these toy boats, now feared them as much as the powerful American battleships. The naval revolution was complete, and the small predators had definitively proven their superiority over the traditional giants. Today, when we observe the carefully restored PT-305 at the National World War II Museum in New Orleans, we see not just a preserved wooden boat, but a testament to American ingenuity and the courage of young men who transformed seemingly fragile vessels into instruments of victory. PT boats prove that in war, as in nature, the most effective predators are not always the largest. They demonstrated that speed, intelligence, and coordination can overcome brute force and heavy armor. This lesson resonates even today in modern conflicts, where small specialized units continue to cause disproportionate impacts. The Sea Piranhas forever changed our understanding of naval power, proving that sometimes the smallest packages carry the deadliest bites.